Did you know that even with your green card in hand, you could be banned from the US forever? Thousands of residents are losing their status without committing any crime, simply because they don't know the new rules that USCIS will apply in 2025. The scariest part is that these rules aren't always clearly explained, and that's why so many people are caught off guard at the airport when an officer says, "I'm sorry, you're no longer a resident." In this video, I'll tell you about 12 key rules that can make all the difference between coming home or being stuck at the border. Stick around until the end, because the last of these rules is mandatory travel registration, the only real way to prove that your life is still in the US. First things first, an expired green card means saying goodbye to your residency. A lot of people think that as long as they have their green card in their wallet, they're safe. But the truth is, this piece of plastic has an expiration date, and in 2025, USCIS started a zero-tolerance policy for expired cards. It used to be that at some airports, officers were a bit more understanding, especially with people who had been residents for a long time, who had lived in the country for years with family, a home, or their own business. But now the rule is clear. An expired card means you don't have legal status. It doesn't matter if you've been paying taxes for 25 years, if your kids are citizens, or if you have a thriving business. The order for officers is clear. Stop any resident trying to enter with an expired document, and this stop can quickly turn into an immediate deportation process. The solution, even though it seems obvious, is super important. Never wait until the last minute to renew. You need to mark your green card's expiration date on your calendar at least 6 months in advance and send in Form 190 to renew it. If you need to travel while your renewal is being processed, a simple confirmation that you applied isn't enough. You have to go to USCIS and ask for an ADIT stamp in your passport, which acts as temporary proof of your status. Without this stamp, you risk an officer immediately seeing you as illegal when you arrive. Treat your green card for what it is, not just a piece of plastic, but your legal life in the United States. Second, the 180-day limit outside the country. Imagine leaving the US for a few months to sort out family matters, care for a sick relative, or start a business in your home country. You think everything's fine because your green card is valid and there's nothing to worry about. But when you return, you get an unpleasant surprise. The immigration officer tells you that you've been away too long and your residency might be considered abandoned. This magic number, which many ignore, is 180 days or exactly 6 months. If your absence goes over this period, USCIS can interpret that you no longer have your center of life in the United States. And even if you enter with your card, the officer can start a process to take away your status. The most dangerous thing about all this is that there's no official document that warns you as soon as you go over this limit. You don't get an email or a formal notification. Instead, when you try to re-enter, you'll face uncomfortable questions and in some cases, be denied entry. The rule is tough, but clear. A permanent resident must live mainly in the United States and not just visit now and then. If you know your trip will be longer, prepare proof that your life is still connected to the country. Work, home, bank accounts, taxes. Otherwise, 6 months might be enough to mess up your residency. Third, the importance of a real physical address. One of the biggest problems at the border is your home address. Many people think it's enough to just put a relative's or friend's address on official papers, like it's just a small detail. But USCIS has really stepped up their checks. Now they need your address to be where you actually live, and you need to show real proof of it. The officer might ask you without warning for your zip code, how much your rent is, or the date of your last electric bill. If you hesitate or give an answer that doesn't match your documents, a red flag immediately goes up. It's like with the tax office here. Everything has to match or you're in trouble. For the government, your home is the strongest proof that you're keeping your life in the United States. It's not enough to just have your green card. You have to show clearly where you live. And how do you do that? With up-to-date rental agreements, property deeds, electric bills, water bills, or internet bills in your name. Even official mail like letters from the bank or the IRS can help you. If you can't get mail because you're traveling for a long time, one solution is to sign up for a certified mail forwarding service. This makes sure your name stays linked to that address. Remember this wise saying, in immigration, what can't be proven in writing doesn't exist. It's like a government office, everything has to be recorded. And without a verifiable address, your residency can be seen as not real. Fourth, your bank account as proof of life. What many people don't know is that USCIS, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, now checks residents' bank activity as a sign of active life in the United States. The point isn't how much money you have, but whether your account is actually being used. An inactive account for more than 6 months is seen as a sign of abandoning residency. The reason behind this is simple. If you're not living in the US, you don't have expenses, you don't pay bills, you don't get deposits, and you don't use your card. So, even if you have savings, it's no good to have a full account if it never moves. The key is constant activity. What officers look for are clear signs that you are taking part in the country's economy, receiving paychecks, paying rent, online transfers, card payments. What's the practical solution? Set up recurring monthly payments, even if they're small amounts. Pay essential services through direct debit. Keep a subscription like Netflix or Spotify linked to your American account, and check your online banking regularly. Even just a recurring payment of $20 a month can be enough to show that your financial life remains active. Your money speaks for you when you're not there, and what your bank account says can be key when entering the country. In this year, 2025, your green card isn't enough. Your financial transactions have become the quiet mirror of your real residency. Fifth, your tax returns. They're like your immigration insurance. A common mistake many immigrants make is thinking that if they didn't work in the US for a year, they don't need to file taxes. This idea, even if it seems to make sense, can lead to big problems. In 2025, USCIS automatically checks your information with the IRS. If you're not in their tax records, you'll be seen as possibly giving up your residency. It's like a red card for your green card. Not filing your taxes is like waving a red flag in your immigration story. The problem is, many immigrants feeling safe with their green card forget about this super important duty. They don't realize they're putting themselves at risk of losing everything. It's like ignoring the official stamp that's so important. The rule is simple. You need to file Form 1040 every year, even if you didn't earn any money. And if you earned money in another country, you need to report that too, using Form 2555. Filing taxes doesn't always mean you have to pay money, but it's how you show that your legal connection to the US is still strong. It's like the good behavior certificate for your immigration history. Also, keeping a good record of your tax filings for several years is your best defense if an officer ever questions your residency. Keep paper copies of your last 3 tax returns and have them ready when you travel. You never know when you might need them. It's better to have them and not need them, as they say. Think of it like a protective wall around your status. Every year you file, that wall gets stronger. On the other hand, not filing your taxes is like leaving the door to your residency wide open so it can be taken away without a fight. It's like walking on eggshells. Sixth, the trick question in immigration. There's a question that seems harmless, but it has cost thousands of people their residency. Where exactly do you live? Behind this question, there's a calculated assessment. The immigration officer isn't just listening to what you say, but how you say it. 3 seconds of hesitation, a different address than on your documents, a shaky answer, and your trustworthiness will be questioned. For the officers, your address is the core of your connection to the country. That's why your answer must be identical, word for word, to what's on your driver's license, on your last tax return, or on your lease or mortgage agreement. The recommendation is to answer with confidence and right away add, "I have the documents here to prove it." Showing proof right away shows you have nothing to hide and builds trust. Many immigrants, trusting their memory, end up contradicting themselves, and this contradiction is enough to start a deeper look into your process. What used to be ignored is now considered a reason for deportation. Remember, when you cross the border, every word counts, and the address you state isn't just a small detail. It's the key proof that your life continues in the United States. 7. Keeping your mail and services active. Keeping your mail and services active might seem like a small detail, but in 2025, it's become a really important requirement. USCIS now checks if you're getting official mail and if you have basic services in your name. The idea is simple. If you truly live in the United States, you'll have bills for electricity, water, internet, or phone, and you'll get your bills or letters at your address. Not having this proof tells officers that you might not be living in the country anymore. And it's not enough to say your cousin pays for services or your landlord handles everything. It's super important that your name is on these bills. Even digital services like Netflix, a prepaid phone plan, or any subscription linked to your address can help show you're active. The main thing is to keep a constant paper trail. If you have to travel for a long time, think about using a certified mail forwarding service to keep getting official letters in your name. Always keep your most recent receipts and, if you can, bring printed copies with you when you travel. An officer might never ask for them, but if they do, having them handy could save your residency. In immigration, paperwork matters more than words, and your mail is the easiest way to show that your life is where it should be, in the United States. 8. Family emergencies and long absences. You know, life is full of surprises, right? A sick mom, a bad accident, a funeral. These are situations that sometimes force us to leave the country longer than we planned. But be careful, USCIS doesn't make exceptions out of sympathy. For them, a long absence is seen as abandoning your residency unless you prove otherwise with perfect documents, and this is where many people mess up. They think it's enough to explain the emergency when they come back. But in 2025, that excuse won't work anymore. The officer only accepts what's written on paper with official stamps and signatures. If your absence for humanitarian reasons is longer than 6 months, you'll need original medical certificates, hospital reports with exact dates, death certificates if needed, and of course your plane tickets that show when you traveled. Everything must be translated into English and when possible, apostilled to be valid internationally. Keep everything, both physically and in the cloud, because in a surprise inspection, this file could make the difference between coming home or losing your status. The pain of an emergency is real, but for immigration it doesn't count if it's not in the documents. As tough as it sounds, your residency could depend on keeping every receipt, every stamp, and every medical report during these difficult times. Number 9. USCIS Artificial Intelligence. What few people know is that USCIS no longer waits to see you at the airport to decide if you still have residency. Starting in 2025, they will use AI systems that look at your life for signs that you've given up your residency. This system automatically checks tax, bank, and immigration records to create risk profiles. What things do they look at? First, if you haven't filed taxes for more than a year. Second, if your bank account has been inactive for 6 months or more. Third, if your driver's license has expired. Fourth, if there are no utility bills registered in your name. Fifth, if you've been outside the United States for more than 180 days in a row. And sixth, if your mailing address hasn't been updated for more than a year. If you meet 3 of these things, the system flags you as possibly giving up your residency even before you get on the plane. This means that when you arrive at the airport, you'll already be on an alert list without even knowing it. How can you avoid this? By keeping an active digital footprint, as they call it. This means doing things like making bank deposits, renewing your driver's license, paying a basic utility bill, and getting official mail. Even though these are small things, it's the best way to tell the system, I'm still here, I still live in the United States. 10. Your foreign passport also matters. Many residents think that just having their green card is enough to travel, but they forget that their passport from their home country also needs to be valid. In 2025, more people than you think got stuck at airports because they showed an expired passport, believing that just the green card was enough. Your passport is super important because it's still your international ID. If it's expired, you might find that the airline won't let you board, or that immigration will deny your re-entry, even if all your US documents are in order. The reason is simple. Your green card proves your status in the United States, but your passport is the document that shows your home country and your right to travel. Both need to be up to date and valid. The advice is clear. Check the expiration dates of both documents at the same time. Set reminders in your calendar a year in advance so you can renew them without rushing. Traveling with a passport that's close to expiring risks you not being able to leave your country or not being allowed to come back in. Don't underestimate this detail. Your passport and your green card are 2 pieces of the same puzzle, and without one of them, your way back home could be suddenly blocked. Now, let's talk about the Reentry Permit as a real-life insurance policy. There's a document that many Italians living in the United States don't know about, but it can save their status if they're away for a long time. It's the Reentry Permit. This special permit must be requested before you leave the United States. It lets you stay out for up to 2 years without USCIS thinking you've given up your residency. It's like a backup plan for anyone who knows they'll be away for a longer time, whether for work, studies, or family emergencies like staying in Italy to care for parents. The most common mistake is thinking your green card is enough. But actually, if you're gone for more than a year, officers can think you've given up your life in the country. That would be like leaving your American ID on the street. The Reentry Permit sends a clear message. Even if you'll be away, your plan is to come back and keep your ties to the United States. To get it, you need to fill out Form 1-131 and get your fingerprints and photos taken before you travel. You can't apply for this document from outside the country, so planning ahead is super important. It's like getting a passport. You can't leave it until the last minute. And pay attention, it doesn't replace other requirements. You still need to keep active bank accounts, file your taxes, and have a valid address in the United States. However, having it in your passport shows that your absence is allowed and legally recognized. If you plan to be away for more than a year, don't wait. Apply for this permit. Losing your residency because you didn't plan for a long absence is a mistake that can cost you a lot and give you a big headache. 12. The mandatory travel protocol. With all these changes, USCIS has put in place a rule that started as a suggestion but has now pretty much become a must-do for every resident who wants to come back without problems. This rule says you need to bring in paper form and perfectly organized proof that your life is still going on in the United States. You'll need to have printed copies of your tax returns from the last 3 years, recent bank statements that show activity, your valid driver's license, a lease agreement or proof of ownership, and utility bills from the last 60 days. If you've been away for more than 6 months for medical or family reasons, you'll also need to show original certificates, translated and stamped with an apostille. It's a good idea to get a travel folder ready with all these documents, sorted and numbered so you can show them right away if the officer asks. Don't just rely on having them on your phone or in the cloud. The authorities want to see physical documents. There's no getting around it, as they say. What is written remains. And here, paper is proof. This level of readiness not only makes the check-in faster, but also shows you're serious and organized, which helps you in any questions they might ask. In 2025, it's not enough to say you live in the United States. You have to prove it with physical documents. It's like with the IRS. Without proof, there's no argument. This rule is your shield, and having it ready can mean the difference between coming back easily or a painful rejection at the border. In 2025, just having your green card isn't enough to guarantee you can get back into the United States. Every little thing matters. Your documents being valid, how many days you spend outside the country, your taxes, your bills, your address, and even the mail you get. USCIS doesn't accept excuses and doesn't care about personal situations. They only accept written proof that can be checked. If you want to keep your residency, you need to live ready, have an active life in the country, and always have a folder with the right documents close by. Don't think of it as just paperwork, but more like life insurance. Your residency is too important to lose because of carelessness. Make sure every trip is safe, follow these rules, and remember, your future in the United States depends on what you can prove, not what you say.